Welcome to our channel HD Rare Coin 111, your go-to spot for uncovering the incredible world of rare US coins. If you've ever wondered if your old pennies, nickels, or dimes are worth more than face value, you're about to find out. In today's video, we'll be exploring some truly rare coins and their shocking values. And if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. So let's jump in. Top 1. The Kennedy half dollar is more than just a coin. It is a powerful symbol of history, legacy, and American pride. And today, we're going deep into one of its most iconic versions, the 1776 to 1976 bicentennial Kennedy half dollar. But what makes this coin so special? Why are collectors around the world hunting for it? And could you be holding a small fortune in your hands without even knowing it? Let's go back in time to 1776, the year the United States of America declared its independence. 2 centuries later, in 1976, the country celebrated its bicentennial in style. Parades, fireworks, patriotic music, and yes, commemorative coins. Among them, the Kennedy half dollar stood out as a shining tribute to American history. Instead of the regular design, the bicentennial version bore a special reverse side, a bold image of Independence Hall in Philadelphia, the very birthplace of the Declaration of Independence. But there's more to this coin than meets the eye. The obverse still carries the familiar profile of President John F. Kennedy, strong, noble, forever young. It was a face that symbolized hope and promise in the 1960s, and it continues to resonate through the ages. But the date on this special coin reads not just 1976, but 1776 to 1976. This dual date makes it instantly recognizable to collectors and history lovers alike. Now, here's where things get really interesting. The Kennedy half dollar from the bicentennial year came in different versions. Some were made for everyday use, the ones people carried in their pockets, spent at diners, and gave to kids as gifts. Others were minted as special collector's editions, struck in higher quality, sometimes with a silver composition instead of the usual copper nickel. These coins have a sharper strike, a smoother surface, and often a shinier luster. Among these, certain variations stand out not just because of their design or their shine, but because of their rarity. Some of the rarest 1776 to 1976 Kennedy half dollars were struck in 40% silver and released only in special sets. Others have errors, slight mistakes made during minting, that make them incredibly valuable to collectors. A missing mint mark, a double die, or a misaligned strike can transform an ordinary 50-cent piece into a jaw-dropping treasure. But you might be wondering, how do you know if the Kennedy half dollar in your drawer or collection is worth anything? First, check for the mint mark. Coins from San Francisco often hold higher value, especially if they're proof versions or part of a silver collector set. Next, look at the condition. A coin in pristine, uncirculated condition can command far more than one that's been jostled around in someone's pocket for decades. And then, of course, there's rarity. That's the real game changer. When a particular coin is discovered to be a rare variety, with a unique error, an unusual finish, or extremely low mintage numbers, collectors will do almost anything to get their hands on it. And now, for the moment you've been waiting for. Among all the Kennedy half dollars ever minted, a specific 1776 to 1976 version recently stunned the coin collecting world. A near-flawless specimen, with exceptional condition and unique characteristics, changed hands for an eye-popping sum. And the price? $175,000. Yes, you heard that right. A single Kennedy half dollar, a coin you might have seen tossed in a change jar, sold for $175,000. That's the kind of story that sparks dreams, that makes collectors check their coin jars with new eyes, and that proves once again that history, mystery, and money often go hand in hand. So next time you come across a Kennedy half dollar, especially one marked with the dates 1776 to 1976, take a closer look. You might just be holding a little piece of history, or a small fortune in the palm of your hand. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more deep dives into the stories behind the coins. Because in the world of numismatics, Every coin has a tale, and some of them are worth more than you could ever imagine. Top 2. Coins are often seen as everyday objects, something we barely notice as we hand over change or drop a few into a jar at the end of the day. But every now and then, a single coin becomes much more than just a piece of metal. It becomes a piece of history, a collector's dream, and sometimes, an unexpected fortune. And one coin that continues to surprise collectors and historians alike is the 1971 Kennedy half-dollar. Let's rewind to the early 1970s. America was in the midst of change. The space race was still fresh in everyone's minds. Vietnam dominated the headlines. Pop culture was exploding. But in the midst of all this, the U.S. Mint quietly released a new version of the Kennedy half-dollar, one that would go on to become both widely circulated and wildly mysterious. The 1971 Kennedy half-dollar marked a significant turning point. Up until 1970, half-dollars were made with 40% silver. But starting in 1971, the composition changed entirely. From that year on, the Kennedy half-dollar was minted using a copper-nickel clad instead of silver. It seemed like just another change in materials, a simple shift to save costs. But what followed was anything but ordinary. This coin features the classic design honoring President John F. Kennedy, a tribute to the beloved leader who was tragically assassinated in 1963. His profile on the obverse is instantly recognizable. Strong, youthful, and full of promise. The reverse shows the presidential seal, the eagle clutching the olive branch and arrows, encircled by stars, a bold representation of American strength and unity. What makes the 1971 Kennedy half-dollar so fascinating is how common, and yet how rare, it is. You see, millions of these coins were minted for general circulation. They were everywhere. People used them in vending machines, flipped them for decisions, and passed them down to kids as pocket money. But buried among those millions, a few incredibly rare examples exist. These are the coins that break the mold. The ones that make headlines. The ones that leave collectors breathless. Some 1971 Kennedy half-dollars were mistakenly struck on silver planchets, leftover blanks from earlier minting years. These mint errors are beyond rare. They were never meant to exist. But a handful escaped the mint, slipped into circulation, and now live as legendary finds in the coin world. Others have been discovered with unique double-die strikes, missing mint marks, or unusually sharp details that suggest they may have been struck using special dies or under unique conditions. These anomalies are golden tickets for collectors, because they don't just represent a minting error, they represent opportunity, mystery, and the thrill of the hunt. So how can you tell if your 1971 Kennedy half-dollar is worth more than 50 cents? Start with the basics. Look at the coin's edge. If you spot even the slightest hint of silver and the coin doesn't have the usual copper streak, you might be onto something. Next, weigh the coin. A normal copper-nickel version weighs about 11.34 grams. If it's heavier, it could have been struck on a silver planchet. Then, examine the coin under magnification. Look for doubling in the letters, especially around "In God We Trust" or "Liberty." Check for sharpness in the design, oddities in the rim, or even tiny flaws that might point to a rare variety. Collectors are obsessed with details, and when it comes to the 1971 Kennedy half-dollar, the details make all the difference. Coins in mint state condition, particularly those graded MS-67 or higher, are highly sought after. And when a rare error or a silver planchet strike is confirmed, the value skyrockets. There are stories of collectors picking up unsearched rolls of half-dollars at banks, cracking them open on the kitchen table, and finding treasure inside. A forgotten coin in a drawer, a keepsake from a relative, a dusty addition to a childhood collection, any one of these could turn out to be a rare 1971 Kennedy half-dollar. And now, the number you've been waiting for. One such extraordinary specimen, a 1971 Kennedy half-dollar with unique characteristics, impeccable condition, and undeniable rarity, was once sold to a private collector for the jaw-dropping amount of $165,000. Let that sink in. A coin minted for just 50 cents. A coin that people once used to pay for a soda. A coin that could easily be lying in a box somewhere in your home. Sold for $165,000. So what are you waiting for? Check your change. Go through that old coin collection. Ask your grandparents if they still have that jar of coins in the attic. Because the next legendary Kennedy half-dollar could be just a few feet away from you, quietly waiting to be discovered. Thank you for watching. If you're passionate about coins, history, hidden treasures, or the thrill of the unknown, make sure to subscribe, drop a like, and hit that bell icon. Because in the world of numismatics, every coin has a story, and some are worth far more than their face value ever suggests. Top 3. Imagine holding a small piece of American history in the palm of your hand, something passed through generations, exchanged in corner stores, pocketed by veterans, gifted to grandkids, and perhaps forgotten. The 1973 Kennedy half-dollar is one such piece. A coin that seems ordinary on the surface but has stories, secrets, and surprises tucked into its very metal. We're peeling back the layers of this intriguing coin and diving into its true value, a value that, in one special case, soared far beyond what anyone expected. When it comes to American coinage, the Kennedy half-dollar stands out as one of the most iconic. It was first introduced in 1964, just months after the tragic assassination of President John F. Kennedy. The nation, still mourning, embraced the coin not just as currency, but as a tribute to a fallen leader. For decades, his image has been struck into the face of this 50-cent piece, a constant reminder of optimism, youth, and a vision for a better America. By 1973, the Kennedy half-dollar had already become a familiar sight in pockets and cash drawers across the country. But that year, something unusual happened. Unlike previous years, the 1973 version was not released into general circulation. That's right, if you walked into a store in 1973 and asked for change, you wouldn't have gotten this coin. Why? Because in that year, the U.S. Mint decided to strike the Kennedy half-dollar only for collector sets, specifically mint sets and proof sets. That decision, seemingly minor at the time, would go on to make the 1973 Kennedy half-dollar a coin of unique interest among collectors. It wasn't about the metal content. By 1973, silver had already been removed from regular issue half-dollars. These coins were made from a copper-nickel-clad composition. But what gave them value was scarcity in circulation. Most people never saw one. They sat tucked away in folders, in sealed government-issued plastic, or forgotten in the back of a drawer. But here's the twist. While the majority of 1973 Kennedy half-dollars were collected and preserved in mint condition, a few found their way into circulation. And even rarer still, some were struck with errors, double dies, off-center strikes, missing mint marks, and planchet anomalies. These mistakes, barely visible to the untrained eye, are the gold mines for numismatists. A tiny deviation in the minting process can turn a 50-cent coin into a 5-figure treasure. Let's talk about types. In 1973, Kennedy half-dollars were minted at two major locations, Philadelphia and Denver. The Philadelphia coins carry no mint mark, while the Denver versions are marked with a small D. The most prized coins from that year, however, are not always about the mint mark. They're about condition and anomalies. Coins graded by professionals at extremely high levels, such as MS-68 or higher, are exceptionally rare. And when you combine pristine condition with an error or a unique variety, that's when the real magic happens. Coin collectors across the country spend hours scouring rolls of half-dollars, attending estate sales, visiting antique shops, and exploring online auctions in the hopes of finding that one flawless gem. Sometimes, these coins turn up in the most unexpected places, tucked in a childhood coin album, stored in an inherited collection, or even buried in a forgotten jar of loose change. What makes the 1973 Kennedy half-dollar so special isn't just its design or the story behind it, it's the fact that a coin so common in appearance can sometimes carry an astonishing, hidden value. It's that thrill of discovery. That moment when you realize that something overlooked by millions could actually be worth more than most people's monthly salary. And now, the number you've been waiting for. Among all the 1973 Kennedy half-dollars ever discovered, one particular specimen stunned the collecting world. A near-perfect example, with an extraordinary condition, a rare error, and flawless detail, was evaluated, authenticated, and eventually sold in a private sale. The final price? $155,000. Yes, $155,000. For a 50-cent coin. That's the kind of story that sends collectors into a frenzy and inspires others to take a closer look at the change lying quietly in their homes. So what are you waiting for? That coin in your drawer, that keepsake passed down from your grandfather, that forgotten $50 rattling around in a piggy bank, it might just be the one. Take it out. Examine it. Study it. Because in the world of coin collecting, even the most ordinary-looking coin can turn out to be a priceless piece of American history. Thanks for watching. If you're fascinated by coins, hidden treasures, and the untold stories behind everyday objects, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe for more, and tap the notification bell so you never miss a discovery. Because sometimes, the smallest things hold the biggest secrets. Top 4. Every coin tells a story. Some speak of great leaders, others of monumental events, but a few carry whispers of rarity, hidden treasures disguised as everyday currency. And today, we're unraveling the story of the 1981 Kennedy $50. It might seem like just another 50-cent piece, but beneath its copper-nickel surface lies a fascinating world of history, scarcity, and surprise, a coin that, in the right condition, has stunned the numismatic world. The Kennedy $50 series began in 1964 as a tribute to the fallen President John F. Kennedy, whose sudden assassination just months before shook the entire nation. Americans were still grieving, and the coin was more than just money, it became a symbol of remembrance and hope. For years, the $50 was cherished and circulated widely, with Kennedy's noble profile struck into each one. But as time went on, its use in daily commerce began to fade, and by the 1980s, it had become more of a collector's item than pocket change. Now let's jump to 1981, a year of political tension, economic shifts, and cultural transformation in the United States. That year, the U.S. Mint produced Kennedy $50 at 3 locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. But here's the twist: these coins were not released into general circulation. The 1981 Kennedy $50 was made exclusively for mint and proof sets. In other words, they were created only for collectors. If you wanted a Kennedy $50 in 1981, you couldn't get one at your local bank or store. You had to order a special set directly from the mint. This limited availability means the total number of coins minted was far lower than in previous years. That alone adds a layer of rarity. But rarity by itself doesn't guarantee a coin's value. It's the condition, the variations, and the unexpected errors that truly elevate it into the realm of high-value collectibles. Let's talk design for a moment. The obverse features Kennedy's portrait, as it had for nearly 2 decades. His strong jawline, confident gaze, and neatly combed hair give the coin a classic and timeless look. The reverse side displays the elegant presidential seal, an eagle with wings spread, holding arrows and an olive branch, surrounded by stars. It's a proud symbol of American authority and peace. But for collectors, the devil is in the details. Some of the most valuable 1981 Kennedy $50 were struck in San Francisco and designated as proofs, coins with a mirror-like finish and exquisite detail. But even among these, a few stand out. A double die reverse, a misplaced mint mark, or a coin struck on the wrong planchet can take this already limited release coin and elevate it to superstar status in the eyes of collectors. Even more astonishing are the 1981 Kennedy $50 that were mistakenly struck with remarkable precision, then preserved in nearly perfect condition for over 40 years. These coins, when graded by professional agencies like PCGS or NGC, can receive exceptional designations such as PR70 or MS68. Grades that indicate nearly flawless surfaces and unmatched sharpness. These aren't coins that have passed from hand to hand. These are coins that were carefully stored, perhaps unknowingly, in someone's attic or coin album, just waiting to be discovered. So how do you know if your 1981 Kennedy $50 is valuable? Start by checking for the mint mark. Coins from San Francisco, marked with an S, are proof issues. Look for pristine surfaces, no scratches, no dulling. Then dig a little deeper. Use a magnifying glass to inspect for doubling in the letters or numbers, or for tiny anomalies around the edges or on Kennedy's profile. These small signs could mean big value. Collectors all over the world scour auction listings, estate sales, and coin shows for high-grade examples from 1981. Because they know that while millions of Kennedy half dollars exist, only a tiny fraction are like these, rare, perfect, and deeply desirable. And now, it's time for the big reveal. Point 1 Extraordinary 1981 Kennedy half dollar, a proof coin struck in San Francisco, preserved in breathtaking condition, and verified as a top-grade rarity, was sold to a private collector for an astonishing price. And that price was $125,000. That's right, $125,000. For a coin minted with a face value of just 50 cents. This isn't just about money. It's about legacy. It's about turning something small and overlooked into something extraordinary. It's about what happens when history, precision, and chance all align in a single piece of metal. So don't underestimate the coins in your collection. That 1981 Kennedy half dollar tucked away in a box or passed down through your family could be more than a keepsake. It could be a life-changing discovery. Thanks for watching. If you're as fascinated by hidden treasures, numismatic wonders, and stories behind America's currency as we are, be sure to like this video, subscribe for more rare coin deep dives, and hit the bell so you never miss an update. Because sometimes, the most ordinary looking coins carry the most extraordinary value. Top 5. Coins are time capsules. Tiny metallic storytellers that pass silently through generations, carrying with them the weight of history, the beauty of craftsmanship, and sometimes, secrets waiting to be uncovered. Among these, the Kennedy half dollar stands in a class of its own, not just because of its iconic design, but because of the stories it tells about a president, a nation, and collectors who never stop searching for hidden treasure. And today, we dive deep into the fascinating world of the 1992 Kennedy half dollar, a coin that has surprised many and rewarded a few in ways they never imagined. By 1992, the Kennedy half dollar had already seen decades of evolution. It was first minted in 1964 as a tribute to President John F. Kennedy, just months after his tragic assassination. The American public immediately embraced it. It wasn't just a coin, it was a memorial, a keepsake, a national expression of grief and admiration. Over the years, the design remained largely unchanged. But each year brought subtle differences, and some years, like 1992, introduced something very special. At first glance, the 1992 Kennedy half dollar might not appear extraordinary. It features the same iconic portrait of John F. Kennedy on the obverse, his gaze steady and dignified, a symbol of leadership and youthful energy. The reverse carries the presidential seal, an eagle with a shield, arrows in one talon and olive branches in the other, a representation of strength and peace. But what truly sets this year apart is what lies beneath the surface, both literally and figuratively. In 1992, the United States Mint did something it hadn't done since the 1960s. It reintroduced 90% silver-proof coins, including a special version of the Kennedy half dollar, as part of the annual silver-proof set. For collectors, this was a monumental event. For the first time in over 2 decades, the Kennedy half dollar was again available in a high-quality, 90% silver format, and it was only available to those who ordered the proof set directly from the mint. This means that the 1992 Kennedy half dollar came in 2 main forms: a regular copper nickel-clad version and a 90% silver-proof version. The silver coins were never meant for circulation. They were struck with care, designed for collectors, and packaged in protective cases. They gleam with mirror-like finishes, crisp details, and a sharpness that sets them apart from ordinary coins. But even among these silver beauties, not all are created equal. Some 1992 Kennedy half dollars were struck with rare minting errors. Others were preserved in absolutely flawless condition, untouched, uncirculated, and perfectly struck. These coins, when graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC, can earn high grades such as PR69 or even the ultra-rare PR70, a nearly perfect coin with no post-production imperfections at 5x magnification. That level of perfection is almost unheard of, and it's where things start to get really exciting. Collectors obsess over the tiniest details. A missing mint mark, a double die, an unusually strong strike, or a planchet error, any of these can send a coin's value soaring. And in 1992, a very small number of Kennedy half dollars emerged with such qualities, making them coveted by serious numismatists. It's also worth noting that because these silver coins were only sold in sets, the chances of one entering circulation are slim. But every now and then one slips through the cracks, perhaps broken out of its case, lost, or unknowingly spent. That's the dream scenario for collectors, finding one of these ultra-rare coins hiding in plain sight. So how do you know if your 1992 Kennedy half dollar is one of the special ones? First, check the finish. Is it a dull, circulated coin, or does it gleam like a mirror? If it's brilliant and flawless, you could be holding a proof. Next, look for the mint mark. Silver proofs from 1992 were struck in San Francisco and carry an S mint mark. Then, weigh the coin. A 90% silver half dollar will weigh more than the regular clad version, around 12.5 grams versus 11.34. Finally, if the coin is in near-perfect condition or shows signs of a minting error, it's worth having it professionally graded. It only takes one lucky find. One overlooked coin in an old collection. One forgotten set in a family drawer. That's the thrill of coin collecting, the possibility that something extraordinary might be hiding in the most ordinary place. And now, here it is, the moment that coin enthusiasts wait for. Among all the 1992 Kennedy half dollars discovered, one exceptional specimen shocked the community. It was a silver proof, perfectly struck, preserved with absolute precision, and authenticated with an elite grade. That coin, a true numismatic gem, was sold to an avid collector for a breathtaking total of $95,000. Yes, $95,000. For a half dollar. This is why collectors continue the search. This is why eyes light up at the sight of an old coin jar or a dusty proof set. Because in the world of numismatics, value isn't just about metal, it's about rarity, history, condition, and the magic of the unexpected. So take a look. Check your collection. Revisit that proof set you inherited. That 1992 Kennedy half dollar might just be your hidden treasure. Thank you for joining us on this journey through one of America's most iconic coins. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe for more coin stories, and hit the bell to get notified when we reveal more hidden gems. Because when it comes to coins, the ordinary can turn out to be truly extraordinary.